Assalamu alaikum everyone, Dr. Dar here for Tuesday in Love, and today I'm going to be doing a video on carmine. In other words, the red color that you see in cosmetics. People often ask us, is carmine halal? Can it be used in cosmetics? Is it safe to consume if it's in your lipsticks? So today I'm going to give you all the facts that you need to know about understanding carmine. Now, carmine goes by a couple of different names in cosmetics. It can be called carmine on the label. It can also be called cochineal extract. Cochineal is the name of the bug from which it comes from. It can be called crimson lake, natural red 4, CI 75470, and it also goes by E120. And sometimes cosmetics companies will put natural dye on their labels, which means that it's been extracted from an insect or a living thing. Now, carmine comes from the cochineal insect, and this is a small, tiny insect that when it dies and it's dried out, it has a very bright red color. And carmine isn't just used in cosmetics. It can also be used in a lot of foods, such as yogurts, to give it a bit of a color, like a pink color. It has been used in candy, in syrups, and even in juices. So I want to give you the Islamic rulings from the 4 Islamic schools of thought. Now, first of all, the Hanafi ruling on eating insects or consuming insects, they believe that insects are permissible, and specifically those that are from the locust and grasshopper species. And the reason for this was because the Prophet, peace be upon him, when he was in battle, he ate locusts and grasshoppers for the purposes of sustenance. Now, the Shafi and Hanbali ruling on it is that insects are generally distasteful to consume. However, in the event that you need it for sustenance or survival, then it is permissible. So let's say, for example, you're out in the wilderness, you don't have any source of food, you can eat insects to survive. And finally, the Maliki ruling on eating insects is that it's permissible as long as the insects are made fit for eating and that they're killed first. And also that they're not harmful to you in any way. So for example, you wouldn't want to go and eat a live scorpion. However, one of the most important things to take into consideration is the ruling that is called transformation that cancels prohibition. In other words, when a substance or something is transformed from its original state and its chemical composition is changed, it no longer holds the property of its original state. And this is definitely true for carmine. The way the scholars have talked about this is that, for example, the way vinegar is made. It's made from alcohol. Now, alcohol is prohibited for consumption. However, when you ferment alcohol and you turn it into vinegar, vinegar is permissible because it no longer has the properties of alcohol. So you might be wondering, well, then how is carmine made? One of the biggest misconceptions about carmine is that they're just taking, dead bugs, crushing them up and throwing them into your cosmetics. And this couldn't be further from the truth. The real way carmine is actually made is that the bugs are first dried out, and then the shells of the bugs are actually processed. And they're first boiled in ammonia or in sodium carbonate. And what this does is that it helps sort of pull out the extract or the dye out of the actual bug. So it's then filtered, and alum is then added to this salt. And the solution of this and then creates a precipitate, which is the red aluminum salt called carmine dye. What's even more interesting is that it's not just something that applies to the red color. In fact, carmine bugs are used to even make colors like bright purple. What happens is this same process that's used to create the carmine red dye, when lime is added to it and metallic ions, what happens is it creates the precipitate of a nice bright purple color. So if your favorite color of lipstick or your favorite juice is purple, there may be a chance that you still are ingesting carmine in very small quantities. One final thing that I want you to consider is this. If you still believe that live bugs are being put into your cosmetics, well, here's something that you might want to consider. Whenever you take a live organism and it dies, what happens to its color? It turns black or brown. And the reason, because every living thing is made out of carbon, and carbon's natural color is black. So if we were putting dead bugs into our cosmetics, the cosmetics themselves wouldn't have that bright red color that they maintain. In fact, they would turn dark brown and black over time because you would have those organic compounds in them and you would have that carbon in them. So again, carmine goes through a very sort of like tedious process of being purified and extracted and even altered into creating different types of reds and different types of purples, as I've mentioned. So guys, I hope that sheds a little bit more light on the topic of carmine and whether or not it's halal. Of course, if you have any other questions or concerns, you can always leave it in the comments, or you can email us directly at info@tuesdayinlove.com.